The 2026 midterms could be House Democrats to lose 10 months out from the election. The Cook Political Report released a new rating of competitive seats and shifted 18 House races toward Democrats. 8 of them moving out of the likely Democrat column to solid blue. Another 10 races shifting toward Democrats, leaving Republicans with fewer toss-up races. All right, joining us, Cook Political Report senior editor and elections analyst Dave Wasserman. All right, lay it out for me.
So right now we have 211 races that at least lean towards the Democrats, lean likely or solid D. We have 206 races that at least lean to the Republicans, and then 18 toss-ups. What that means is that Republicans, in our view, would need to win 2/3 of the toss-up column to hold their House majority, which isn't impossible. But Democrats are clear favorites at this point for the House. And we've known this for a while, but where these races fall in relation to each other, we've had extensive conversations with strategists and ad makers and pollsters and candidates from both parties to assess how these races are moving. And what we've seen is weakness for Republican incumbents in these single-digit Trump districts. Keep in mind, there are about 15 seats that Republicans hold that Donald Trump carried by less than 5 points. And a lot of these contests feature Democrats who have national security backgrounds similar to 2018. And we believe that redistricting is not going to safeguard the Republican majority to the extent the party had hoped.
What's driving this move? Is there a single policy or a single event that's forcing voters to rethink their positions?
It comes down to President Trump's standing with independent voters in particular, but also Democrats' enthusiasm advantage. And a couple of the races that moved in these latest ratings feature large Hispanic populations. For example, Texas's 34th district, Vicente Gonzalez, California's 13th district in the Central Valley, Adam Gray. What we've seen nationally is Donald Trump carried about 48% of the Hispanic vote in 2024, but according to our poll tracker, his approval rating among Hispanic voters is 35%. That's almost double the erosion in support we've seen for Trump among other voters. Among independents, Trump won about 48% of self-ID'd independents in 2024. According to our poll tracker, he sits at 30%. This is consistent with the type of advantage for Democrats that we saw in 2018. We've seen it in special elections like Tennessee 7, which featured a 13-point swing towards the Democrats from 2024. Democrats only need a fraction of that swing to retake the House majority this time. I'd say the warning sign, though, for Democrats is money. They don't have nearly the money advantage that they had 8 years ago during Trump's first term. MAGA Inc. PAC ended 2025 with $304 million in the bank. The DNC only has about a fifth of the cash on hand that the RNC does. And most observers expect the Supreme Court will strike down limits on coordination between parties and candidates, which could give Republican candidates more money to try and localize their races and portray Democrats as unacceptable alternatives.
How do you explain that? I mean, we've seen money differences before, disparity between the two parties, but this one is especially stark. Why? Why are Democrats not raising any money, it seems? Or not a lot of money?
Well, they're raising money, but they don't have the mammoth advantage over Republicans that we saw in previous cycles. And I attribute that to fatigue on the part of Democrats who've poured money into a lot of reach races for Senate and House the past few years, and it hasn't necessarily paid dividends, particularly in Senate races. And the other component is that the president, the White House, they've been able to bend donors to their will. We've seen big stakeholders, big business leaders contribute millions, 7-figure checks, 8-figure checks to MAGA Inc. And the outstanding question is, how much is that PAC going to spend on Republican candidates' behalf, or are they going to hoard a lot of that money for 2028?
Yeah, and I've heard from Democratic donors who are a little bit nervous about donating to Democrats and finding themselves suddenly in an IRS investigation. They're worried about retribution from the president. Dave Wasserman, really good to have you. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Katie.